Hello, welcome again to Leading Edge. Now, in the last 3 weeks, we have been having this discussion on managing transitions. If you remember, in the first part, we examined the 5 dynamics of transition. The second part was on the 5 ways to manage transition. And last week, we had a discussion on 5 ways to know when to pivot in your career or business. If you recall, we particularly noted that it's time to pivot when, number 1, you have become too comfortable and familiar with where you are. Number 2, when you find no meaning any longer in what you are doing. So there's something else that holds greater meaning for you. And number 3, we said it's time to pivot when your attitude has become dominantly negative. Number 4 was when the environment has become toxic, abusive, or demeaning. And finally, we said it's time to pivot when the job or business is compromising the critical boss of your life, like your family, your faith, or your health. Today, we shall have the 4th and final part as we discuss the issue of the 6 principles for a successful pivot. Okay. So let me, by way of opening, say this. Millions of people each year make shifts in their careers or businesses. For some, it's an internal movement within the same organization or industry. For some others, it's a move to maybe college to pick additional degrees or certifications to increase the options in life. For others, it may be a move to start their own business or pursue some other passion. For yet some others, it's a change in the business that they do. So whatever is the nature of the move, there are various challenges associated with such transitions. In last week's discussion, we had looked particularly at the various indicators that points to the fact that it's time for you to move. Once you determine the itch you are scratching, the factor driving your need to pivot, the critical next step is to develop an exit strategy. Now, such a strategy will help you make the internal and external changes required to ease into the new thing you are getting into. Often, what worked for you in your current job or career or business may not necessarily work in the next one you are stepping into. Okay, therefore, there are certain clear requirements for an exit strategy. So it will require, number 1, clarity. It should not be a guesswork or a mere emotional move not based on reality. Number 2, an exit strategy requires focus. You will need to give it disciplined attention. Number 3, it will require self-motivation. Now, because by the nature of such exits, you will need to take personal responsibility to make it work. So self-motivation is critical. You don't wait for someone else to do it for you. And the next is staying power. You will require tenacity. There will be several challenges, including the fear of the future and initial teething problems. You need staying power. And finally, you need mental and psychological strength. This will include self-confidence, a self-acceptance, a self-respect, a self-love. You need all of that. So here are 6 principles that can support you in having a successful pivot in your career or business. Okay, so let me walk you through this. Number 1, you need to be clear about why and where you want to move and the value you intend to add. Now, a critical starting point in your exit strategy and in ensuring a successful pivot will be clarity around the purpose of the move. Why do you want to move? So 3 things will be important here. Why you are moving, where you seek to move, and what value you intend to add, whether it's in a career or in a business. So first, be clear about why you are moving. What's driving you? Why do you want to make the move? This is foundational, not only because it will surface in interviews with recruiters, but more importantly because it will be your source of strength and stability during the challenges you will encounter in the process. The other thing you need to determine is where you are moving to. What sort of role or organization or sector or business do you want to move into? You can't just move without some clear indications regarding that. The point is that it's best if you have a compelling vision of what you want, what you seek. This inspires enthusiasm. Now, take note of this. Enthusiasm is an inner fire that keeps you steady through any challenge. A gifted and competent man without the fire of enthusiasm will not go too far. Even interviewers often remember enthusiasm longer than the information delivered in a drooling, lifeless manner. The third point here is that you need to be clear about the value you seek to add in the new role or job or business. So what are you bringing to the table? What's the difference you seek to make in the business? People buy value. You can't go wrong putting our value on the table. In your career, it's the same principle. What value are you bringing? One of the truths I've come to know over the years is this. Employers don't hire to help you. They hire those that will help them. You must therefore demonstrate that you carry value. Okay. So, number 2, identify what is called your zone of genius. So, another key point of exit strategy and in making a successful pivot is to identify this zone of genius. The zone of comfort references essentially what you are good at, which also gives you fulfillment. So you need to identify what that sweet spot, I will call it, between what you are good at and what fulfills you. So the two factors are critical, being good at it and being fulfilled by it. That is what creates a banker who suddenly turns into a fashion designer. That's what creates a medical doctor or student who turns into a creative writer. Now the truth, as Albert Einstein says, is that everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. It's important then in making a successful transition to determine what turns you on. It's to determine when are you at your best. What are you best at? Right. You must know what you want to do, and it has to be in an area of expertise or genius. Your greatness is in your zone of genius. Your gifting. It is called Namaste, the gift within. After identifying what you are good at, it's also important to establish what you are about. What's your life dream or purpose? The pressure to pay bills often drives people into jobs or businesses that they have no business doing in the first place. Right. A time of transition may therefore be a good time to revisit your dream or life purpose. It's never too late to live your dream. The beauty of life is that if you miss your turn on the highway, there are detours that can bring you back to where you missed it, so you can start afresh. It may take more effort and time, but if you are determined to arrive at your true destination, you will make the effort. The alternative would then be to go where you never plan, I would say, which many often do. Additionally, you need to conduct a skills or capability inventory. What skills do you possess? What are your core competencies? What are your major achievements so far? Articulate them in clear, precise, and memorable ways. Now, recruiters require evidences. This will come very handy for you. Sometimes after a skills inventory, it may turn out that you require new skill sets, for where you seek to go in order to fit in properly. In that case, pick up those skills. Give yourself time to do that. So, a critical point is to identify your zone of genius. What do you do well that gives you satisfaction? Good. So, number 3, flip your mind and attitude. This is the third critical component of the exit strategy to ensure a successful pivot. It is to make a deliberate psychological makeover, as I will call it, a mental and attitude reconstruction, call it adjustment or reorientation. The mindset and attitudes that helped you survive in a familiar environment where you had already garnered some goodwill will not be the same for a new environment where people may still be trying to know you. Right. So the mindset that worked as an employee may not work for you as an entrepreneur. As an employee in an established organization, you probably had guaranteed client base, most of whom you took for granted sometimes, right? But starting a business will teach you a strong lesson in client centricity. I once moved from a well-established financial institution to open the branch of a new bank in a city. I can't forget the first day of opening. We practically prayed and waited anxiously for the first client to walk through the door. That first client was like a pearl. We visibly celebrated him. What's the point here? You must learn to adapt. You must adjust to your new place. You will learn how to swing things around. You need to learn how that failures can be changed to, learning curves, scarcity to opportunity, survival mode to creative mode. You need to learn all this. As executive leadership expert Marshall Goldsmith said, it is one of the paradoxes of life that the things which got you here are seldom the things that keep you there. In his book of the same title, What Got You Here Won't Take You There. Now, over the last 7 years, part of what I have done for young leaders who are in transition has been to gift them with an ebook of Michael J. Watkins, The First 90 Days. One great submission of that book is that when you get promoted to a higher responsibility, you must learn to promote yourself. The organization can change your role, but it's up to you to transform yourself to fit into the role. This is where mental and attitude upgrades come in. For instance, a typical chief operating officer CEO who is transiting to a chief executive officer role will need to make this critical adjustment. Otherwise, he will fail. The natural disposition of a CEO is to be detailed, granular, operations or execution oriented. This is in stark contrast to the disposition of a typical CEO. A CEO is normally strategic, spontaneous, sometimes intuitive. So if you must have a successful pivot, adjust and upgrade your mindset and attitude to match where you are going to or the new place you are at. So, number 4, develop a clear roadmap, including the support structures you may require in the new place. Now, as we mentioned in the last episode, you don't rush into making a change of business or career, even when the move is the right thing to do. You must have a clear plan, a clear roadmap. There has to be a goal to drive your focus. Then you need to articulate a roadmap on how to get there. This roadmap needs to capture the various critical steps, their timelines, support structures that you may require. It will cover such components as any skill gaps and remediation plans you may have. It will cover coaching or mentoring sessions you may require. It will cover financial support plan, right? Business startup plan, networking, partnerships and community building plans, engagements and scouting plans. All of this must be there. A few relevant steps may also include mining your connections, just shake the base of the people you know and try to mine it. Fish out 1, 2, 3 that may be helpful in making that move, right? Then you may need to reach out to relevant recruiters, put together and conduct pitches here and there, update your knowledge through certifications, coaching, apprenticeship, what have you. Ensuring that you have sufficient savings. Now, this is important because cash is king. Sometimes you may need some gap of like 3, 4, 5, 6 months to be able to properly balance, particularly if you are cutting over to a business. So you need in the current place to have cash to sustain you through that lean period that you likely face. So cash is king. Have it on your side. Keep enough cash to take you for a few months. All right? Then, of course, you need to start adjusting your lifestyle. Cut out all unnecessary spending as you begin to plan to move to the next place. So, in a word, have a clear plan. Okay. So, number 5, take a guided leap into the unknown. Now, whatever move you make carries its own risk. Let's face it. You may never completely eliminate risk. What we do is risk management. We don't do risk elimination because life is risky. All right? Like they say, look before you leap. Now, a critical thing to do is to ensure you conduct some level of research, depending on how drastic the move is from your current position. If it's a move to a completely new sector or a switch from paid employment to a business, then an above average research will be important. Don't take this for granted. Even if you are moving to a similar job, ask questions. Now, years ago, I saw someone move to another bank only for that bank to go into liquidation less than a week after. Ask questions before you jump. In fact, the higher you are going to be in an organization, the greater the due diligence you must conduct before moving. I had a personal experience once. An important person in my life had recommended me to a financial institution at the highest level, I must say, to the MD CEO of the bank. It was looking like a sure deal. However, I had to check with another mentor who was a key person in the industry. All right? It just happened that he had been involved at the board level with that institution I was meant to move to. Now, based on a few things he knew, he advised me not to make that move. Guess what? A few months later, that CEO stepped down, and all the guys that came through him were asked to leave. I could have been one of them. So a vital part of this process of looking before you leap is research. The other part, therefore, will be, I'll tell you this, spend some time to pray about the move and to have peace with it before you set off. So, what am I saying? Pray about it and ensure you have peace about it. Now, trust me, life is essentially spiritual. If you're a person of faith, you will know that even when all things look right and rosy, you will need that inner witness that you are on the right track. Now, in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, it says this: trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do, and everywhere you go. He's the one who will keep you on track. That's what that scripture says. So, at another time, I had this compelling offer from a foreign financial institution. The offer was going to completely change my life, believe me, both financially and in terms of visibility. I was quite excited about it. But then I've been praying about it. So I got an email from the company, sharing with me my offer letter and my ticket to proceed to Pretoria for an induction. Then the only way I can describe what happened next was that I came under an overwhelming sense of unease when I got that letter. I lost my peace. I was terribly troubled, as though I had made a major mistake. Well, there was only one option left for me. I had to click the reply button and decline the offer very nicely. Everything was okay, except that I didn't have peace. So, in life, remember, direction is more important than speed. It could look good, but may not be good. So we look at number 6, which is the last point I'm going to be making. Number 6 is be ready for the bumpy ride of transition. It's not going to be an easy ride at all. Career or business changes sometimes come with turbulence, challenges, losses, failures. Name them. I think it was in 2010 that I had my first visit to the Wild Wadi water park in Dubai. The Wild Wadi sports a variety of water slides. So there are some of them that are quite heart-wrenching, like the extreme trapdoor that opens under you and you simply drop several feet below, all right, while you slide on the water. Then there is the one that is called the Tunnel of Doom. That's the one I want to talk about. The Tunnel of Doom. It's an enclosed tube slide. As you slide through, it's a tunnel, all pitch dark. You can't see where you are. You can't see where you are headed. You don't see what lies ahead and for how long the ordeal will last, all right? It's the time frame that's the hardest part. It seems like eternity. You hear people screaming as though they were in an irredeemable abyss. And then suddenly, you burst out into the open skies with your heart pounding 1,000 times faster. That's the tunnel of doom. But it only leads to the open skies. Now listen to this. Some pivot experiences can feel like the tunnel of doom. It can be tough, real tough. Starting a new business can be. Changing careers sometimes can be. But ever so often, people make it to the open skies of success. So, you too can. So be courageous, but be ready to embrace the dark tunnel that may come. Be ready for several no's that you'll get. Also look forward to that just one great yes. That will do. That will be enough. That will make all the difference for you, whether in your business or your career. So here we come to the end of the 6 principles of a successful pivot. We've covered, be clear about why and where you want to move and the value you intend to add there. Number 2, we've said, identify your zone of genius. Number 3, flip your mind and attitude, because what brought you so far may not carry you into where you're going to. Number 4, develop a clear roadmap, including the support structures you may be requiring. Number 5, take a guided leap into the unknown. It's not always as it appears. And number 6, be ready for the bumpy ride of transition. Right. So in the end, if you stay the course, pivots can be successful. They can bring you to a bigger and a better place. I wish you well for all those who may be requiring to make a move in their business or their career. May you see success on the other side. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the session today. And I'd like to thank you for continuing to join us every week. Okay? I would request you to please send us your feedback, how this whole series are helping you. And if you have suggestions to make, you can share them. Okay? And we are also open to answer your questions. Please do comment, share, and like this thing if you like them. Right? So, thank you again for joining us. This has been Leading Edge.